Got an emergency vehicle coming up behind me. There they go. All right, we're here at the yard. Coming to get this machine. Taking it to go get put in place for the snow pickup. Get some lights on here. Set her into a good gear. Let's get to rolling. It's about 10:30 p.m. on a Friday. The snow is expected to start. Saturday, 9 a.m. So we're gonna get the loader moved out to where it's gonna be plowing ahead of the snow. Here we go. So a week ago, we had my old GoPro attached to the left corner of the bucket there while we were plowing snow, and fell off after some rough terrain and was crushed. So it's a little ironic for me that we're gonna be riding in this bad boy on our way to go do some more snow plowing just a week later, trying out the new GoPro. Here where we live in the south, we don't get much snow, and so because of that, every snow that accumulates kind of over 3 inches becomes a bit of an emergency. So because of that, we take it real seriously. That we're on right now is one of the roads that we maintain in the summertime. Well, it's year-round really, but we cut the grass here. So we've got a few of these roads around the city, and in the summertime we have to mow the roads every 18 days. And so we'll get a big old crew out here and get rolling down the road with a couple lawnmowers and some weed eaters and some blowers and get these roads cut. And then in the off season, we mulch them and we prune any of the shrubs and those sorts of things. Last year we had 11 of these kinds of roads, but they come in and out of cycle. And so some years we have more, some years we have less as the contracts come up for bid. this old loader. It was a Komatsu. She was from the 90s, and it had this persistent leak in the steering hydraulics. And so while you were driving straight down the road, you would have to continuously turn the steering wheel in order to keep it straight. That was pretty fun. That was also much bouncier of a machine. I know this machine looks like it's pretty bouncy, but that other one, man, it was wild. I was behind this machine the other day, last week, when we were bringing it back to the shop from out plowing, and the operator, he had all of the lights on, and it looked like a spaceship was driving in front of you with all the rear facing lights on and everything. So I called him up and I was like, man, you got to turn those lights off. Somebody's gonna plow into you. You can see it's 10:30 at night, and the traffic out here is pretty wild. That guy thought they were gonna go. Probably a good idea they decided against it. We're gonna drive straight through what they call town center, which geographically isn't even really the center of town. It's pretty far north in town, but I guess it was a way for them to encourage some urban growth. The reality is, it's very far north. It's also quite congested. We'll see how it looks this time of night on a Friday. We're actually heading to meet some guys out at the property now who are doing some salt pre-treatment. They stopped in over here at this place on their way out there to do some pre-treating. I can see it from here. They got a pretty good pre-treat down there before the snow. And I'm sure they're doing just fine where they're at. I told them to call me when they were like halfway through so that I could start heading their way, and they could give me a ride back to the shop. Alright, we're coming up into town center. One thing I found with these slower vehicles, you know, is if you always keep right and allow the people to pass you on the left, you do pretty well. You can see our tallest building in the city there. And you can see 10:30 at night, all the traffic. I was talking to the guy from Caterpillar about the road speed of these machines, and intentionally they're left at low speed because in the state seldom are you allowed to drive them on the road like this. In certain exclusions during states of emergency and those sorts of things, there are some exemptions and some exclusions to that. But it's just not very regular to go from like one job site to another here. But in Europe, they sell them where these will go highway speed. And so I thought that was real interesting that you could get these machines up to like 35 or 45 going down the road. And the way that they're articulated, they don't steer, they don't handle like a car does. It kind of feels like driving a forklift where the steering wheels are in the back, but it's not really quite that either. They kind of have their own way of steering. I did think it was quite interesting that they do sell them that way. He said we can import one, which I thought would be a fun little thing to do. I don't think my boss thought it was as fun, but... And just like that, we're about through town center. The traffic will still be pretty heavy coming southbound, but we should be pretty light going back up north. Now that we're kind of out of that industrial zone or urban zone, I'll go ahead and take the right lane again. I think that car wants to come in, and you're welcome to. Guess not. That left lane ends, so all the time you'll see those folks slingshotting across in front of everybody. I'm not in that kind of a hurry. Got an emergency vehicle coming up behind me. Go. It's a pretty cool third-party system here with the Department of EMS. 10 different rescue squads, a lot of volunteers. The city actually doesn't own any ambulances, even though we operate under the Department of EMS. They do own that zone car that just went by, but they don't own any ambulances. And so the call that they're going to, they may show up with a career provider and a volunteer on an ambulance together. Could also be 2 volunteers, could be 2 career people, but it's a true third service. So got their own leadership, their own chief. It's very interesting the way it works. For those that don't know, there's kind of 3 different ways things go. There's private ambulance, there's hospital-based ambulance, and then there's third service ambulance. And then if they're not one of those, they're gonna be a service that is ran or operated by another public safety department. And so in some places that's the police department, and in some places that's the fire department. The FDNY right now is a fire-based EMS system, and if you pay any attention to that sort of stuff or in that industry, you'll know that the Department of EMS is trying to separate and become its own entity from the fire department. At least they have been for a while, which is funny because for a long period of time they were separate. Then they joined, and you know the difference now is 60 to 70% of all 911 calls for fire are actually EMS calls. You may know that the FDNY commissioner that was appointed this year is not a firefighter. They were a paramedic and the chief of the EMS department. Never become a firefighter. They're the commissioner for the fire department. All right, we're pulling on in to the shopping center now. You can see my crew is here getting the ice melt down. They've got a nice thick coat. You can still see some snow on the ground from last time we were here. thanks for riding with me. See what else we can get into here in a second.